Britain is sending anti-tank artillery. America is sending guns and ammunition. Denmark is sending fighter jets and frigates. Guess what Germany is sending? Helmets. Europe's richest country, the continent's de facto leader, is sending helmets. 5,000 of them to protect Ukrainian soldiers. From what? Falling branches? Russia is not preparing to fling stones at Ukraine. They have brought rocket launchers and fighter jets. It's like holding an umbrella near a volcano. Ukraine does not need helmets. They need cutting-edge weaponry. Most of Germany's allies are sending such weapons. So why is Berlin hesitant? That's what the mayor of Kiev is asking. He has called the offer of helmets a joke. Listen to this. This is what he said. We are dealing with a highly equipped Russian army that could start further invading Ukraine at any moment. 5,000 helmets are an absolute joke. What will Germany send next? Pillows? For the folks in Berlin, that was a taunt. Sending pillows to Ukraine is not an option. But jokes aside, why is Germany not going all in? Well, we can think of three reasons. Number one, the economic partnership with Russia. It's an important one for Germany. Their exports are worth $27 billion and their imports are worth $18 billion. So the trade balance is in Germany's favor. Most of this trade is energy. Russian gas. Out of Germany's total gas imports, Russia makes up 50 to 75%. In other words, Germany is dependent on Russian energy. And if that supply is shut, Germany could face a gas crunch. In fact, this dependence could grow further in the coming years. We've already told you about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It's an $11 billion project. Right now, Russian gas reaches Germany through Ukraine, and Ukraine pockets $2 billion in transit fees. But Nord Stream 2 does not go through Ukraine. It goes through the Baltic Sea. No transit fees means cheaper gas. Reports say this pipeline could heat 26 million homes in Germany, so Berlin does not want to push Russia too hard. Then again, Angela Merkel never had such reservations. She wasn't as hawkish as the Americans, but she led the way in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. Merkel pushed the European Union to impose tough sanctions. Why is her successor getting cold feet? That's reason number two. A new and divided alliance in Berlin. Vladimir Putin has been leading Russia for 20 years. Emmanuel Macron has been the president of France since 2017. Joe Biden was vice president for 8 years, but Germany has a new and cautious chancellor. Olaf Scholz has 7 weeks of experience. That's all. 7 weeks. He leads a coalition of 3 parties, the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Free Democrats. All 3 have a different take on Russia. The Social Democrats prefer reaching out to Russia. The Greens are critical of Moscow, but they don't approve of weapons and violence. And the Free Democrats are pro-business, so they would like cheaper Russian gas. Imagine being the chancellor of this coalition. Maybe a veteran like Merkel could have had her way. But Scholz is new in office. He doesn't have the political capital to stand up for Ukraine. Plus, he can't always blame it on history. He can rather always blame it on history. And that's reason number 3. Germany says it has spilled enough blood. What are they talking about? World War II. The Nazi war machine killed millions of people across Europe. In fact, the Russians were among the biggest victims. 27 million Soviet soldiers died fighting the Nazis. 15 million were Russians. That history continues to weigh on Germany's conscience. It says so in their foreign ministry's website. Let me tell you what it says. I'm quoting, "Remembrance of the past plays an important role in German-Russian relations. Germany is aware of its responsibility to Russia and the other post-Soviet states for the 27 million Soviet victims of the Second World War." Is this a valid argument? Maybe. Is it a perfect argument? Far from it. You see, like Russia, Ukraine is also a post-Soviet state. Plus, it was occupied by Nazi Germany for 3 years. So historic responsibility cannot be selective. If it applies to Russia, it must apply to Ukraine, something that their ambassador to Germany did point out.
Germany
is proud that it has confronted its dark past, and indeed a lot has happened. We can see and honor that. But especially, Ukraine is not present on the map of remembrance up to this day. That's why their argument is met with outrage in Ukraine. And the last thing the Germans should do is refer to their past history of World War II in order to not help us in our situation today.
As for spilling blood, let me say this. Last year, Germany exported weapons worth 9 billion euros. Their top buyer was Egypt, a country notorious for trampling human rights and war crimes. So history alone cannot be an excuse for Germany. The fact is, their policy does have a Russian tilt, not just among politicians, but also among the armed forces. Remember, we told you about the German Navy chief's hot mic moment this week in New Delhi. He said Vladimir Putin deserves respect. He said Ukraine would never get Crimea back. You can't explain this tilt in black and white. It's a result of many factors: the dependence on Russian gas, the guilt of having massacred Russian soldiers 70 years back, the legacy of East Germany, a state controlled by the Soviet Union. All of these factors play on German minds. A strong leader could have broken through, maybe challenged history, or risked cutting off Russian energy imports. But Olaf Scholz is not that leader. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.